I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the band is a projection of the band director. Okay? If the band director doesn't think a girl can improvise or play lead, they're not going to give them the opportunity to try. So
Yeah.
that's it. You don't know if you can't try and if you're not encouraged to do that. So that's
Yeah.
I'm out on a limb there, but
That's a good limb to go out on.
This episode contains adult language and adult humor.
Since when have trumpet players ever been considered adults?
If you are easily offended by these types of conversations, consider switching to the oboe. Welcome to the Trumpet Gurus Hang podcast. I'm your host, Jose Johnson. My guest for this episode is Bria Skonberg. Bria is a trailblazer, a gifted trumpet player, vocalist, songwriter, and bandleader. Bria traverses a wide spectrum of musical influences. She's been called the shining hope of hot jazz, but she can also go straight heavy metal bebop with her use of electronics. She's an award-winning player and vocalist and a champion of music for all people. So, pour yourself a big glass, pull up a chair, and let the hang begin.
Welcome to this episode of the Trumpet Gurus Hang, and I am joined by the one and only Bria Skonberg. Bria, so good to see you again.
thank you so much. It's good to see you and good to see people.
Yeah. The first and last time I saw you was at the ITG conference when it was held at King of Prussia, and I was just really impressed. First of all, I was impressed with your masterclass. You did a masterclass on improvisation, but based on like the hot jazz style, the New Orleans kind of the pop stuff, which was really, really cool. And you had some really great ways of explaining that. And then that evening in the concert in the evening, I'm thinking you're going to be doing a lot of that same kind of jazz, and then all of a sudden you're going mainstream, and then you pulled out the electronics and you went all Randy Brecker on us. I'm like, whoa, where is this coming from? So I was just really impressed by the palette, that wide palette, and also you're a vocalist that you have to create your music. So where does this all come from?
Where does this all come from? So in my mind, I'm Randy Brecker. Well, to tie into that, this jazz music, was came from the southern US. It came from that New Orleans, that deep style. And so for me, that's the foundation of everything that I do. Every direction that I want to go all started, from having a deeper understanding of the music and where it came from and how it feels, traditional jazz, classical jazz, New Orleans jazz, hot jazz, whatever you want to call it, has a real, equal parts of rhythm, melody is king or queen, and harmony, all that basis. So I feel like I was very lucky to be exposed to that music early on. I'm from British Columbia, Canada. I'm in New York City today, and I've been here for 11 years, or maybe 11,000, it feels like at this point of the pandemic. But I went to public school, and my band program, they supported and were part of a local festival that featured traditional jazz music. So even out of the gate, when I was learning how to improvise, I was listening to people like Louis Armstrong, Jelly Roll Morton, and learning to play that repertoire. So that's not where I stayed. I continue to explore all sorts of kinds of music and life and original music. But I feel very, very fortunate that is how I got my start, which is why it's been important to me to also try to make that part of the workshops that I do, or when I do outreach, get to give other people that same experience.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. And I think that's, so many people kind of put themselves in a little box, it's like, well, I only do this, old traditional stuff, or I only do modern, or I only do electronic, or I only do smooth jazz. But seeing it as part of this greater whole and just doing what you can to show the different facets of it. Do you find that you have one thing that you tend to gravitate towards more than anything else?
I like, you know, I think I love that music too because it's really built from the bottom up. It's like the drums, it's about, you know, the bass drum and the kick, and it's meant to like get you moving, you know, it's feet, it's in the dirt, in the soil also of jazz, of music that came after it. And so I think I like stuff that's got a real groove to it. And, you know, obviously the drums and bass combination has to be really, really strong, you know, more than, and then stuff like, you know, cymbals and all the colors and flair kind of goes on top of it. So that's generally how I approach music, or the stuff that I'm gravitate towards. Now, whether it's jazz music or whether it's Balkan brass band music, that stuff kind of, you know, I get a real kick out of that. It energizes me.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. You know, I certainly wanted to ask this question, and I kind of hate asking it because I just hate the fact that it needs to be brought up time and time again. But as a woman in the world of jazz, you know, how do you navigate the, you know, it's certainly, whether you want to accept it or not, people want to accept it or not, it is a predominantly male-dominated industry, much like most of our society. And you know, it's a shame that we have to ask that question of why there aren't more prominent female jazz musicians, and especially trumpet players. So how, I guess it's a multi-part question. I mean, one, do you feel that there is this stigma that's attached to being a female trumpet player? And if so, how do you go about dealing with that?
Well, I'll say that many of the female trumpet players have different experiences with this. Here's my experience: was that when I started playing trumpet, there were 7 other girl trumpet players in my class. Like, so I wasn't unique. My band teachers didn't make it a thing. My parents didn't make it a thing. You know, I was blissfully not so self-aware of my gender being part of my journey on the instrument. And I wish that for everybody, whatever gender you identify with, you know, even as male, it shouldn't have to, whatever. We won't even talk about what it should or shouldn't be, but let's talk about what is. So what worked for me was not standing out, not getting extra attention. And then even as I went into university, the lead player was a woman in the big band until I took her spot. And, you know, I also come from the land of Ingrid Jensen. So
there you go.
That, you know, that it's not a coincidence though, probably, that the band teachers, you know, created something and then it gets passed down in different ways. You know, the visibility, the representation, you know, helps for people, not just, again, the girls who want to play, but the people in the industry that, you know, just see it as not a detriment. So that being said, why are there not more female players? I mean, we can go back a little bit in time and talk about groups like the International Sweethearts of Rhythm. They were the first integrated all-female band, big band, and they were wildly popular and successful in the early 1940s. But basically, when the war ended, that's when the women were allowed to play, was because the guys were off at war. And then as soon as that stopped, you know, everybody was expected to stay home and make babies, and thus we don't have very many women through, you know, fusion, bebop, all of that. And now, I guess, you know, as we make more choices, more women are choosing to make it a career and a profession. So that being said, I'm no expert on everybody's different experience, but what worked for me was not being the only one, also having band instructors that challenged me. You know, I was selected to play this part in the traditional jazz ensemble. So I was playing Louis Armstrong transcriptions because I was given the opportunity by my band director. Whether or not I was the best one at the time doesn't matter. I was given an opportunity to try and to be challenged and to get into it. And those, I think those, especially at that point, made all the difference, because you'll see that there are girls at a certain age that get into it. And then as we get a little higher in academia, it peters off, you know, especially into college and beyond. So I'm with you. I'm trying to figure out what I can do to be proactive about it at this point in my life. And and one of the things that I just did recently, which maybe we'll talk a little bit more about too, is I'm hosting a virtual all-female and non-binary Trumpet Summit on May 23rd, just instigated by exactly this kind of feeling. Something happened where somebody called out women players as not being great, and I said, okay, enough of this. Let's congregate. Let's discuss some of these things on our own terms, and kind of decide what to do from there. Because for many of us, same with you, it shouldn't be a thing. It's not a thing. It's a thing. But it's not a thing. But okay, it's a thing. When I practice, it's not a thing.
Right.
When I practice, you know what? After years of being a female trumpet player, the hardest part about being a female trumpet player is playing the freaking trumpet. Still.
There you go. Go.
That's all people need to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's actually really interesting what you're saying, because I'm a firm believer. One of my favorite quotes is how you do anything is how you do everything. And so there are consistent themes that exist throughout our existence. And I think that it's really interesting that you were, as you're talking about your upbringing, that you were in a situation where it wasn't considered strange. It wasn't considered to be something out of the ordinary for you to be a female trumpet player. And so it wasn't a thing for you. But I think sometimes that we have like playing lead, for example, or playing, improvising. When people make it a thing, then it becomes a thing. If no one ever told you that it was difficult to improvise or it was difficult to play in the upper register of the trumpet, the odds are, a lot more people would be able to do it at a high level. But because we create these stigmas about things and saying, oh, this is difficult, or you can't do this, and then that creates this little mindset.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the band is a projection of the band director. Okay? If the band director doesn't think a girl can improvise or play lead, they're not going to give them the opportunity to try. So That's it. You don't know if you can't try, and if you're not encouraged to do that. So that's but I'm out on a limb there, but
that's a good limb to go out on, because I think it's the duty of it's the duty of educators, but I think it's all of our duties, whether you're an educator, you're a parent, you're a celebrity, whatever you want to say. I mean, even just as a regular individual, as a regular citizen, our job, like Gandhi says, is to become the change we wish to see in the world. So if we want to see things get better, we've got to start with ourselves, and that has to start with our attitude towards not only what we're capable of, but what others are capable of. And we should be inspiring people to take risks and to take chances and to grow, and not create these limitations on them. And I see this so much. I see this in terms of gender. I see this in terms of race. All these different things that go on, and where we create these false restrictions of what people are capable of doing. And we as a species are capable of so much, but we just allow ourselves to be boxed in these little narrowly defined cubies that I think that it's a shame. So much talent goes to waste.
I'm going to go out on another limb. I mean, those are incredible points, and I agree with you wholeheartedly that we're missing out on the potential of not just giving people the opportunities, but the voices that could emerge in a place where it's not necessarily, maybe it's not even about improvising and lead playing. It's a different sort of music that can emerge when you highlight different types of voices and artists. Also, I think for my school, it was less about competition and more about community. I think a lot of band programs are under pressure to bring home a trophy. Therefore, it is more desirable to feature your lead soloist so that you bring home a trophy, and then maybe you'll get the funding that you need, or maybe you'll just be able to tell everybody else that you got that your band got a trophy.
Right. Bragging rights.
Exactly. So I firmly believe, everybody in the band should take a solo. Everybody's got to try all the time. If I get to lead a combo somewhere, I don't, everybody's in. Everybody's taking a solo. If you're not comfortable soloing by yourself, okay, solo together. You two, just keep it moving. Those are the workshops I just like. We're gonna play. We're gonna get the horn, like whatever. Just try it, and it's fine. it's not even a fear of failure. It's just a chance to try at this point.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that really stuck out to me when I was in that master class that you did, is you made not only the process, understanding the process so easy, but your demeanor, the way you presented the information, it tore down a lot of barriers. And I could see, people in the audience, and they're just, there was none of this kind of trepidation about being willing to play or to try things. It was, hey, okay, this is it feels like it was a safe space.
Good.
And that's a real gift, especially when someone has a level of reputation like you do in the industry. It can become very intimidating for people to, want to show their ideas. But what came through in that moment and what's coming through at this moment is that you just have this genuine love for music and its expression, and you want to encourage as many people to express their inner voice as much as possible in kind of this non-judgmental experience.
Thank you. Yeah, it's, I love music. I like music, but I like people. And let's throw some credit again to the New Orleans style of music. It's about people coming together and having a community first and foremost, the external factors, but the music itself, the art to traditional jazz is the ensemble, where the trumpet plays, where the trombone and the clarinet all weave within the spot. Everybody's got their own place to play, and you have to listen, you have to work together, you have a common goal. Those things sound cheesy, but they're just basic things that go across every aspect of life. And I'll say too, I'm out here spouting all of this, that feeling, because I was probably very scared to try many times. I was encouraged. It's only because I was encouraged that I tried. Right. I have felt nervous many, many times, but I had that experience enough times of getting through to the other side of it and feeling good about it and seeing the progress to go, okay, I'll just keep trying. That's why I try now, because I was pushed, not because it was naturally in me to just go for it, So once you've had that experience, when you get to, when you find yourself in a position to teach or work with others, you can recreate your own, you can kind of, again, project the things that your own discomforts, or you can try to create a place that's also addresses them and makes it better for the next generation, I guess. Yeah. Not even next generation. It doesn't matter what age you are. You got to keep trying.
Right. Well, as we were talking about this concept of change and the necessity of opening doors and allowing people to have opportunities to express and to experience, and you're mentioning that you have this summit coming up, which I definitely want to talk about in a lot of detail here in a couple minutes. But when you're trying to create change, there's always, especially when it comes to trying to, for lack of a better word, even the scales a little bit. There's the two groups. There are the people that are going to benefit from the change, and that whether it be like women in music, or whether it be some of the racial injustices, and also the gender injustices that go on in society today. There are going to be people that benefit from the change because they've been kind of held back or oppressed, however you want to say that. And then there's going to be the people who need to change their opinions on things in order for that change to occur. So when it comes to particularly, talking about women in music and jazz, and if we talk about trumpet players in particular, because we know that we are the top of the food chain, that what do you hope to do to inspire the people and empower the people who are feeling a little bit repressed or downtrodden? And then what message would you want to give to the people that are maybe standing in the way of that progress and change? What are the things that you think need to happen in terms of the mindset of the previous generations and their perceptions of women in the world of music?
Yeah, those are Big questions, you know, and I'm still learning very much all along the way, especially as I get into it. You know, you talk about women and you talk about race. Well, there's intersectionality, obviously, of those two things. You know, for those of you just listening to the podcast, I am a white woman. You know, I'm already afforded more opportunities than the other women and of color that are not allowed to even, again, be given opportunities to try. So, I just see it as such a missed opportunity, again, for us to widen this musical palette in such a beautiful way. Like, what hasn't been done before other than telling the stories of new, unique individuals? Most of the sounds that we're going to hear for the next 100 years, I shouldn't say that. Like, you know, there are so many sounds to play with. There are the notes in the scale. There are notes in other scales. And what can you bring to the table that is truly unique other than your story? So by stifling those voices, we not only you know, suppress the lives of some beautiful individuals, but also don't have the opportunity to share it. So the people that are standing in the way of that happening, I would say it's not a sacrifice. You know, what you have to gain, why not at least give it a shot? You know, we're here. What do you have to lose, and what could you possibly have to gain? And if you can look at a few different people that, you know, who do you need an example? I don't know, like Terry Lynn Carrington, you know, yeah. Can you imagine the world? I don't want to imagine the world without her voice in it.
Right.
Don't, you know? So, but she had to be like perfect to get through, you know, the circumstances had to be that way. Like, so it shouldn't necessarily, it shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
For all different, you know, people and stories and voices to emerge to the top. Not even the top, you know, it's not up, it's out.
Right. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Information. This is something with the Trumpet Summit. I'm thinking the Trumpet Summit is all ages, you know, all ages. And it's important to me that the information is not, there's no hierarchy. It's not top down. Mm-hmm. It's, you know, side to side. A 65-year-old has just as much to learn from a 13-year-old. And so I'm planning, you know, I want to do breakout rooms where people talk about these things. You know, what is the experience like now? How can I help you? What can I learn from you? So let's think of information that way, eliminate some of the hierarchy for benefit. Now, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't competitive. I played sports. I still like, you know, I'm a trumpet player. There's healthy competition. And I subscribe to that message behind you that, you know, you have to be, the only person I need to be better than right now is me. But sure, I like to have friends around me that push me too. So competition is healthy, but let's if you love competition, then open the gates to more people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to. I love the idea you guys say about broadening it out and letting those voices be heard. So with your upcoming summit, what was kind of the impetus behind that, and what do you hope to gain out of it in the grander scheme of things?
So, I mean, I will say that there's a phenomenal crew of young women coming up right now. Like there are, you know, that being said, what am I? Maybe 5 I can think of that are going to be professional jazz players. I can see it, you know, and like that seems like a lot right now. But, you know, again, I've been looking over my shoulder for 15 years and going, where are they? Right. So there are more, but there's a wonderful crew. And, you know, now thanks to social media, you know, there was, I don't need to name the people, but like there was a buzz within the younger trumpet community that, you know, somebody was putting down women players, and it was inspiring to see how they started to communicate with each other to kind of go like, you know, and support each other and just say, no, this is not right. And I saw that and got a little incensed and just had I'll say inspired, and just threw out a call. I threw out a call saying, all right, where are my little brass sisters? Send me a message. And in 48 hours, I got 150 responses.
That's awesome.
All sorts of females. So if you say there are not female trumpet players, there are. Yeah. there are plenty. There are plenty. And then I just, you know, I sent out a survey that said, which of these days can the most people make? You know, and what do you want to talk about? And so we picked a date. And now I'm going through the what do you want to talk about and figuring out certain people, different people who might have stories that can highlight, really make it about the people. Again, sharing experiences, telling stories. We'll do some playing. Of course, we'll do some trumpet nerd stuff. And it's only 2 hours at this point. We're gonna have to do some history of, who were the female players that played. So that's coming together. I will say, I realize that I do like organizing things. And I tend to launch into ideas without a clear end goal.
Okay.
Sometimes. But that's, to me, is like another level of improvising. Like I said, I said I wanted to get a meeting together. All right, well, who's in? What do you want to talk about? And then once I have that information, we'll piece it together, throw it back for review. It's work with a few people I trust to make sure I'm staying in line on those. But ultimately, like, just, it's like a good band. Just get good people, just get everybody in the room together. Just music.
And then start making music. Do you have any plans on, maybe doing this on an ongoing basis?
I'll ask the group. Like you, I wish it wasn't necessary. So part of me thinks I will measure its success by the ability to step away from it, but that might take some time. And to be honest, there are physical differences, when it comes to gender. I know this because in the last year I had a baby.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It changes your trumpet playing, as you might imagine, to go through that experience and to come out of it. And so when I was looking for information on that, there's no information. So what can we do? We can pull those resources together again to make things easier. So yeah, it's interesting. I'll say that I haven't thought this much about gender my entire life, but apparently, it seems that there's still a need, and I'd like to help get us to that next spot.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, I like the idea, and I'm sure there's going to be some really great conversations that go on. And sometimes, yes, we want to have that big homogenous, the melting pot, but there is a benefit of having people that have, similar experiences or dealing with similar issues to be able to get together and to share their ideas, their thoughts, their impressions. And then you can start to develop, if it's if it's a problematic kind of a situation, you can start to develop strategies to deal with it. If nothing else, it just encourages people to know that there's somebody that's like them. And I think that's probably the big thing, is that it's even like recently the stuff that's gone on in terms of the change in our political climate, and having the first female vice president, person of color vice president. There's this big, like, she's like me. And there's that power of looking and seeing somebody that you can identify with on some level beyond just the ideological, when you can relate to how they look, how they, the color of their skin, their gender, if the shape of their body. All these things are things that we gravitate towards to find a level of attachment. And once we have that level of attachment, then hopefully we can start to dive in deeper to see if there's something more to it than on the surface. But I think that in terms of encouragement, that's so critical, to have that support system of somebody that you can say, yeah, this isn't just somebody who's spouting stuff out of a textbook. This is somebody who's, kind of lived through what I've gone through, so they can appreciate it.
Exactly. And I think if and when we do it in the future, if it's more specific to those things, like I don't think it should be just for females. I would love to have, males or whatever gender, everybody in to learn about even just what is the conversation. Just because you think something doesn't apply to you doesn't mean you shouldn't learn about it. We all must understand that now, with.
Yeah. And that's absolutely the truth. I mean, you have to educate people, and we have to, I think the idea that you have, though, getting things going, getting it off the ground, to establish what needs to be said, what needs to be shared, and then start to bring other people in to let them learn from your wisdom. So
Well, I'm learning. You teach because you love. I teach because I love to learn.
yeah,
You end up getting more out of it. So I'm definitely improvising. I'm definitely learning. I hope people grant me some grace and patience. It's not just me. Obviously, it's not about me. It's just let's just get this started so that I don't want to. I don't want to think about this 10 years from now.
yeah.
I don't want them to think about this 5 years from now. Anything. It's not going to change in that amount of time. We all know that. But let's just start the process.
Yeah. It's baby steps, not giant steps. It's baby steps. So.
Yeah, that's gonna rewrite that song.
Yeah, well, now you're in perfect position to do that since you have a young one of your own.
Exactly.
So the question is, did you give your child a pacifier? Or did you give them a mouthpiece?
Oh God, yeah, we're not there yet. I mean, he heard a lot of playing, and I practiced a lot last year in isolation. Fortunately, he seems to be okay with the trumpet practice, but he will. Oh yeah, definitely will.
Yeah, who was it? There was someone that I had on the show who it might have been Eric Miyashiro, who said that he had his parents gave him a trumpet mouthpiece as a kid, and he just kind of stuck that in his mouth, and that was his pacifier. So, and you can't argue with the results there. So,
no kidding.
Eric is no slouch. So, just saying, planting the seed for for the next generation.
Exactly.
All right. Well, yeah, that's so awesome, and I know that there's going to be a lot coming out of this, and I'm looking forward. Maybe after this is all over with, you can do a little return visit with me and kind of give a debrief on how things went, because I think it's really fascinating, and again, I think it's something that more people need to hear about. We can't be afraid to discuss it. We have to bring it out. I mean, if one thing has become crystal clear in the past few years, it's when you repress ignorance, basically, when things come to light, it creates a bigger problem than if you just try to address the issues and try to do it with a level head and do it with a level of compassion and empathy. But you've got to have the conversation. You can't ignore it, because the longer we ignore it, the worse it gets. Yeah. Again, I have to applaud you for what you're doing, because I think that's a monumental undertaking. And
surely I'm not the first person who's tried. I'm not gonna think I'm Mother Teresa here. It's like, but let's keep that going. And yeah, like you said, I don't want the ignorance to crystallize in its own way. So, and I'd love to talk after. I don't know what's going to happen.
I'm looking forward to the day when we can start doing a more live thing. So maybe you can do a live hang. So. Sure. Yeah. Well, we've got. I know your time is really limited today, so we've got 2 segments that I've got to get through to make my sponsors happy. So the first one is we have to do this. This is for all the gearheads out there. So this is our geared up segment. And so, Bria, I want to ask you, not just about what your gear. I mean, because that's anybody can figure that one out. But I actually want to get some insights into you about your concepts of gear and why things are important to you. So, what you playing now?
Yeah, well, I play Bach. I play a Bach Stradivarius. Actually, 2. One was about 2012. One's 1980. And my concept of gear is that Bach makes excellent horns and that you should absolutely play what works for you. The reason I play this trumpet, I was studying for about a year with Warren Bachet, incredible cornetist, and he had, there's nothing more beautiful than a private teacher relationship where you really get to know each other. He had heard all my squawks and my progress for a long time. And then we went together to Dylan's music shop out in Rahway, New Jersey, that has like a couple hundred horns all over the place. And I tried probably 50 horns with my teacher right there, and he'd be like, okay, put that one down. Yep. This one, how does it feel? Great. Playing basically just like a C scale or a couple scales on each one. How did it feel? What do you think? This one or that one? Okay, that one. All right, move on. Go to the next one. And tried all these different horns. And this is the one that for me just sung and resonated. And that was the process to find it. Similarly, that's the process I took to get the next one. I wanted one that was unlacquered, had a little bit of a deeper sound, and a smaller bore. My Bach is a 43, which is kind of medium large. I call it my shotgun. You know, it takes a lot of lifting, you know, but I love it because it just gives you such a brilliant, huge sound. But the other one is a little, you know, gives me better facility, has more focus. So that's a 37 bell Bach. I play a 3C mouthpiece. My journey with that, man, this, you know, right out of the gate, I played whatever back in school, got a 7C mouthpiece, and then I got lead in the jazz band, and my director said, you should get a lead mouthpiece. So I played a Schilke 14A4A from my second year of trumpet playing.
Woohoo.
Yeah, through to college because I was too afraid to switch. You know, honestly, I didn't have a private teacher until I got to college. And so, I mean, fortunately that mouthpiece worked out in that it was brilliant. You know, I was able to reach higher notes, etc. It worked for me for a long time, but ultimately I wanted a more well-rounded sound. I think I fussed around with a few different things trying to get it figured out. But eventually I took a lesson with Ingrid Jensen, and she just said, yeah, you need a bigger mouthpiece. Yeah. Sometimes you just need to hear that at the right time.
Right.
So got a 3C, and here I am working on that one. Yeah, that's my gear. Sorry, quick sip of water here.
Yeah, that's all good. It's all good. All right. Well, yeah. That sounds great. I mean, I like the approach that Warren took you through of just, you know, very simple approach to finding the one that speaks to you. You know, I think too many people are either they have the shiny object syndrome, so they want the blinged out horn, or you know they'll try to play stuff on the horn that it's not consistent from horn to horn. Mm-hmm. So you know that's a great idea. And so for people who are looking to try out gear, please take these ideas and use them for yourself. So we have one last segment to get through today, and this is brought to us by our good friends at Robinson's Remedies. This is a Robinson's Remedy Rapid Fire Round. It's a series of questions all over the place. I just need your quickest response. They're not all about music, so you get a break from your trumpet brain. So, all right, and there is a special prize if you can get all of these answers correct in the allotted time.
Oh God, okay, I'm so bad at this stuff.
No, there isn't. There's no prize. All right, so here we go. Rapid fire round with Bria Skonberg. Bria, first question: who's the biggest influence on your life that is not a trumpet player?
My mom.
Okay. What's your favorite book?
Ender's Game.
Hey. What's the worst movie you've ever seen? Ender's Game? No.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's nostalgia. You know, like you get these. The first movie that comes to mind, what was that one like called The Stupids? I remember seeing this one, like Tom Arnold. It's old. It's exactly what it says it is. It's so stupid.
That's stupid. Okay. All right. If you weren't a trumpet player, what would you want to be?
Astronaut.
Okay. What is your favorite drink?
Bubbly. Let's say champagne.
Champagne. Yeah. All right. You can have a dinner party, and at that dinner party, you can invite any three living people, any three people in the world you can invite to this party. Who would you want them to be?
Oh my God. 3 people. Whew. I feel like Michelle Obama.
Okay.
But I'll just go with my gut instincts because it's like Harry Connick Jr. because I've always wanted to meet him.
Okay.
Is this happening immediately?
No.
Oh, I mean, because I feel like, can I just get my parents? Because I haven't seen them in like a year and a half.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I miss my family so much. Oh, sorry, to my brother and sister. I didn't bring you. I didn't invite you to the party. Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. So there are three other chairs at this table, and you can invite any three, not living people, any three people from history, any three additional people from history.
Well, definitely Louis Armstrong, you know. How about, actually, I'll get Trumpet. How about Valida Snow and Dolly Jones and Louis Armstrong?
Okay. All right. We have some great entertainment. So here's your next question. Lacquer plated or raw?
It depends on the gig, you know. If I am playing something brilliant, big and shiny, I think I like lacquered. I like lacquered.
Okay, good. What's your favorite quote?
I don't know if this is a quote by somebody else, or but it's a saying I come back to. If you're uncomfortable, it means you're growing.
Okay, I like that one. What's your greatest fear?
I guess, you know, losing people too soon.
Okay. You could be granted one superpower. What would it be?
Fly.
Fly. Okay. Get you the gigs faster.
Yeah.
What aspect of trumpet playing do you feel is the most overrated?
Probably playing extremely fast, but I can't say that until I can do it.
Okay.
It's not fair. It's no big deal, says somebody who needs to work on it.
What do you feel is the most underrated aspect of playing?
Melody. Learning melodies for vocabulary and beyond.
Yeah. Okay. You were given the ability to go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice about music. What would it be?
Transcribe more. Like, get inside the jargon. Don't just listen. Don't just play back. Like, yeah, get inside.
Yeah.
I'm doing that now.
Yeah. Better late than never.
Yeah.
Same thing. You're back there in time. You're giving yourself one piece of advice, but this time it's about life.
All the stuff we've been talking about. Take the chance and honestly try to enjoy it while it happens. As cliche as that is, like, just go for it. Just keep going for it. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And your final question, Bria. What do you want your legacy to be?
It's funny because I don't think this is something that women think about as much as men, to be honest, you know. So what do I want my legacy to be? I don't know. I'm not ready to leave yet. Let's say did a lot of stuff and had a really good time. Have a good time, you know? You're put in the work and, you know, and enjoy the benefits of putting in the work, you know? Yeah.
Well, that's really great. And I love that. So
I love Robinson's Remedies.
Yay, Kenny, yay, Kenny. So Bria, thank you so much for being with me today, and I look forward to hearing more from you about your virtual summit. And if you feel the need to come back on and share some more information, you are always welcome to join the hang.
Thank you. And that reminded me, I should say it's on May 23rd, 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern. You can send me a message on Instagram or find me online and just send me a note if you want to come and we'll get you registered. Free, okay. All ages.
All right. Well, I'll definitely put a tag on that for sure. All right. So thank you once again, Bria. Best of luck with everything you do. And thank you for hanging with us today on the Trumpet Gurus Hang podcast. And as always, peace and slide grease. We's out.
Thanks for hanging with us today. This podcast is all about creating deeper connections through our mutual love of music and the trumpet life. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast and also like and share this episode with a friend. We want to see the hang grow for show. Please support our sponsors and consider becoming a personal supporter of this podcast as well. Remember, for less than the price of a bottle of valve oil a month, you can keep this podcast moving smoothly. The Trumpet Gurus Hang is recorded at the Candy Factory, a co-working space and social club located in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Jose Johnson is the executive producer. Post-production editing is by Mitch Bowers. Our opening theme song was composed and performed by Lexi Signor, and our closing theme music comes courtesy of The Greatest Funeral Ever. Incidental music is by Ethan Swayze and Jose Johnson. Graphic design by Ann Kirby of the Sweet Corps. The Trumpet Gurus Hang podcast is produced in collaboration with the So Good Lancaster Media Group.